Let me just start by saying burnout sucks. In this particularly stressful year with the pandemic and lots of people working extra long hours because the lines between work and home have become blurred, it's no surprise that people are exhausted with the work and struggling to cope with all of the additional stress. And if you're watching this and you're experiencing burnout, you're not alone. In fact, a recent Gallup survey found that 2/3 of people have either experienced burnout in the past or are experiencing it right now. And it's becoming a more serious issue, so much so that the World Health Organization has actually included it in the 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, describing it as chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. More and more people are experiencing exhaustion, feeling unable to cope, not being able to be productive, and sometimes that's even manifesting in physical symptoms, so stomach aches and headaches, and generally not being able to show up and perform at work. And I know my videos are often a lot more upbeat, but I keep talking to people who are experiencing burnout, and it's unsurprising given our really difficult year. So I thought it was an important issue to talk about. Now, there's a major caveat here. I'm not a licensed therapist. If you find that this is really affecting your life outside of work, then I would recommend seeking the help of a professional. This is really just my personal experience. I'll be sharing with you some tips that have helped me deal with burnout before, and I hope that these help you and that you see some light at the end of the tunnel. Hey there and welcome back to my channel. My name's Eva and I'm a career coach and customer success director on a mission to help people build meaningful careers. And today we're looking at the super important topic of burnout, which stops people being their best selves in their careers. And it is really about managing your stress. So there are things that you can do if you're experiencing burnout at work. Before I get to my top 10 tips for dealing with burnout, I'm going to ask you, do you want to be my 100th subscriber? I'm at 99 right now, so I would love it if you would subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you get access to new videos on all things career every Friday. So let's start off the tips by saying stress is actually a really important feeling. It's been designed to tell us that something is wrong and probably that something needs to change. So don't ignore that feeling and just let it build up. It's not going to disappear all by itself, but there are actions that you can take in order to mitigate the effects of that stress long term. So let's get to it. This is top tip number 1. Take holiday. It's possible that you're experiencing all of that stress simply because you haven't had the time to switch off. And I know last year that people were hoarding all of their holidays because there was nowhere to go and you couldn't really do anything with the time off, so it was better to save it for when things would be open. But some things are opening up now, and even if they're not, you still really need that break. So even if you're going to be at home, taking that time for yourself to not do any work, think about something else, talk to your friends, do the things that you love, that's going to help you feel a lot better. And sometimes you can just come back with a refreshed mind. If you're a manager, I would also encourage you to enforce that holiday is taken over a certain period of time. It's there for a reason. Tip number 2, set boundaries for yourself. It used to be that you could leave your laptop at the office on a Friday and then you wouldn't do any work for the whole weekend. But now your laptop is home with you and you're continuously working just a little bit later and a little bit later because you have nothing to do. And some people are even perpetuating this by booking in a meeting at 7-8 o'clock because, well, no one has anything to do anyway. A study actually showed that people who work more than 40 hours a week are 6 times more likely to develop burnout. So there is actually a limit to how much you should be working in order to function in the best way. So if you're working more than 40 hours, typically that comes from conscientiousness and because you want to do a good job. And you can probably do that for a short period of time. But if that becomes the norm, then no doubt that's going to take a toll on how you're feeling. And the pushback I often hear from this is that there's no one to get the work done and the work needs to be done. But what I'd encourage you to do is talk to your manager, talk to someone who can help you prioritize and work on just the most important tasks, and just see what happens if you clock off at 6 o'clock and don't respond to that 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock email. And just notice, if you haven't tried it before, most of the time nobody cares and work just goes on and people can accept the fact that you're not going to be on call 24/7. Tip number 3, remember that you have other options. At the time when my burnout was at its worst stage was when my company had paid for me to complete a course, and if I left that job, which was particularly stressful, I would be forced to pay back that fee that they paid for the course, which was fair, but it did make me feel that for 6 months I couldn't do anything else and I was stuck in this very stressful environment. So once that time was up, it made me feel a lot more relaxed in the role. So think about, you're not actually trapped in that one role. You do have other options and other things that you can do. There are millions of jobs out there. So really just that mindset shift of, you're not stuck here and you're in control and there are things that you can do about it, often can help you just look at the situation in a better light. Step number 4, find another way to release your stress. And this is different for everybody. Some people like boxing, some people like shouting at the ref when they're watching football. I like dancing, and that's what I do to help me feel better. So I always just have a happy playlist that helps me feel a lot better. So if I'm really feeling that stress, playing the music can really help to relieve that. And with that in mind, let's cut to our 10-second dance break. This is going to be a slightly different 10-second dance break. I'm going to teach you the burnout dance. And every time you feel that stress just coming in, you're going to do the burnout dance. And it's going to help you feel so much better because it's good to be a little bit silly sometimes. So I've invented a dance for this, and this is how it goes. We're going to turn the music up. This is what you do with burnout. So you catch it up at the top, and then you floor it, throw it to the floor. Then you're going to stomp on it, and stomp on it with the left. Then you're going to groove it and shake it off. Ready? We're going to go with the music. 5, 6, 7, 8. Catch it, floor it, stomp, stomp. Groove it, shake it off. Again, catch it, floor it, stomp, stomp. Groove it and shake it off. There's your 10-second dance break. Enjoy! Tip number 5, this one is another mindset shift, and it's about gratitude. So thinking about the fact that you get to work rather than you have to work. And I know it seems really simple, but if you think about before the pandemic, you'd struggle getting to the gym, but as soon as we weren't allowed to go to the gym, it was a big thing and everyone really, really wanted to go and got home gyms that have probably been forgotten about by now. So just shifting your mindset to, I get to work, I get to go into work and interact with my colleagues and do something meaningful. And, a lot of people don't have that right now. So just thinking about, how you're lucky to be in the work that you are and just take the good things from it. Tip number 6 is to find small parts of your job that you do enjoy. And if there aren't any, then ask for more responsibilities. Think about, if you left this job, what would you regret not having done? For example, when I was in my old job and not feeling particularly inspired and starting to feel that burnout creeping in, I asked to run interviews with some of my customers, which I love doing. And I made some case studies, and just having an activity that I really love to do or a piece of work that I really love to do helped to make the other stuff a lot more bearable. So try to think of, is there anything within your business, it doesn't have to be within your team, but any responsibility that you would have something to add to that would make you enjoy just the small parts of your job. Tip number 8, find a friend at work. And particularly if you've been onboarded remotely and you haven't met your team members and had a chance to form that relationship, that can be a lot more difficult. And it is a little bit more awkward to do virtually, but you can still do it. We're often trained against showing any weakness at work, but you'll often find that people are going through exactly the same issues as you. When I started a new job and I was onboarding remotely, I spoke to someone else on the team because I was finding it difficult to pick up all of this new information, and I felt like I should have been up to speed a lot faster. And I didn't want to show that because I wanted to show that I was capable. But then I spoke to someone else and I realized that this is a problem the whole business has, because it's hard to onboard people remotely. But being able to share that with someone else really, really helped. So reach out to your friends at work, share some of your challenges with them, and you'll find that sharing it will make it a lot easier to cope with as well. Tip number 9 for dealing with burnout. This comes from understanding if there's something that's causing the burnout that could be in your control. And it's all about having that difficult conversation. So if you're feeling burnt out because your boss is micromanaging you or is messaging you very late into the night and it's hard for you to detach, then you have to bring up that conversation, because it's ultimately going to be damaging to not only your health but also your productivity at work. So it does affect your business. Speak to your manager and have that difficult conversation. Raise what your concerns are, but also a potential solution. So you could say that, would you mind just messaging me during working hours? Would it be easy for you to wait until the morning to send me that email? Because when I see it, it makes it really hard for me not to respond. And sometimes even just small changes to the day-to-day can be really helpful for you. So what are the difficult conversations that you're avoiding because you're just kind of stuck in that rut? Think about, what are the small things that I could do that could make the situation a little bit better? Tip number 10, and this is absolutely a last resort, is to leave your job. Now, first of all, you want to make sure that the issue is actually coming from work and it's not you generally not having the best time. If you need more support, then I would highly recommend therapy. I think it's really, really helpful to make sure that you can be your best self. But if you find that you're in a toxic workplace where people are completely ignoring the issues, not offering to help, not offering to find any solutions to be able to support you, then it may be that that's just not a good environment for you to be in, and you would do better in another role. Bear in mind, we are in the midst of a pandemic, so it's challenging to look for work, but there definitely are jobs out there. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you've decided this is the right step, then to try to look for work while you're still in the role. That will give you a little bit more financial security as well, and help to not just add more financial stress to the stress that you're already experiencing. So there you have it, my top 10 tips for dealing with burnout. I've experienced it before and I'm not feeling it now. So I really hope that you find some of these tips helpful, even if there's just one small thing that helps you. Thanks so much for watching and good luck.